This week, Kevin Johnson, CEO at Secure Ideas, about artificial ignorance and pen testing. Should be a fun time. In the security news, how AI knows things no one told it. Drago's employee gets hacked. VM protects source code leaks. CISA vulnerabilities. SHA-1 is a shambles. Microsoft scans inside password-protected files. Geekin brings Cobalt Strike compatibility to macOS. Google launches tools to identify misleading and AI images. Cyberstalkers use new Windows feature to spy on iPhones. Texas A&M professor flunks all his students, and Wemo won't fix a smart plug vulnerability. Catfishing on an industrial scale, hacking the ocean to store carbon dioxide, all that and more, because that's a ton already on this episode of Paul's Security Weekly.
This is a Security Weekly production for security professionals by security professionals. Please visit securityweekly.com/subscribe to subscribe to all the shows on our network. Broadcasting live from G-Unit Studios in Rhode Island, it's the show where exploits run wild, packets aren't the only things getting sniffed, and the cocktails flow steady. It's Paul's Security Weekly. When organizations face poor web performance, challenges building modern applications at scale, or need to reduce operational and development costs, they turn to Fastly. Fastly's distributed edge network means your business can unleash its growth potential without worrying about scaling your infrastructure, whether growth of users, transaction volume, or geographic expansion. Get the speed, security, and edge cloud innovation you need to deliver profitable and engaging experiences. Visit securityweekly.com/Fastly for more information or to speak to an expert.
This week on Paul's Security Weekly, we actually have Larry. And news just in on Discord from Larry's wife is Larry has had a $100 bill tattooed on his Mickey. Apparently, he likes to see it grow and it likes to have it in his hand, and said something about his wife. He'd rather she spent the $100 at home. But anyway, this week, it's Larry and not Paul.
Wow. All right. Welcome to Larry's Security Weekly. Paul's Security Weekly, coming to you in low fidelity. This episode number 781 being recorded on this April 19th, 2023 in lovely G-Unit Studios here in Rhode Island. And let's see, to my left, I have no one. Actually, I do. I actually have Sam Bown over here on that monitor way over there. Welcome, Sam.
Good evening, and I don't think it's April 19.
You're right. I read what the teleprompter says. It is, in fact, May 17th. Did we actually get the right show number? Who knows?
785.
785 on May 19th. Yeah, it says right here on my computer. Right. In any case, joining us from across the pond in Canada, in lovely England, Mr. Aaron Leyland.
Hi, Larry. Thank you for having me on today. While Paul's away, we'll all play.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us, Aaron. And then finally, our remote guest, Mr. Quadling, Joshua Marpet.
I have to admit, Larry, that was one of the best intros. So Aaron, everybody should know that Aaron was bitching and whining. I don't know how to do these intros. I'm not certain. I can't do it. And then he shows up and does the most amazing intro. Aaron, kudos, my friend. Well done, sir.
Thank you, Josh. You're too kind.
All right. Let's see. Before we get to our featured interview and our featured guest, I did Sam first. I'm being told by a production crew. The Security Weekly, our teams from Security Weekly and SC Media were some of us on site at RSA Conference 2023, delivering an in-depth reporting, analysis, and interviews from the show. If you were unable to join us in person or didn't manage to catch our video live stream from Broadcast Alley, access to all of our RSAC 2023 coverage, including video interviews with leaders from the community, is available at securityweekly.com/RSAC. With that brings us Mr. Kevin Johnson, my longtime friend, and sometimes we get in trouble together. He is the Chief Executive Officer at Secure Ideas. Sorry, Kevin, I'm going to introduce you here for a minute here. You've had a long history in the IT field, including system admin, network architecture, and application development. You've been involved in building incident response and forensics teams, architecting security solutions for large enterprises, and penetration testing everything from government agencies to Fortune 100 companies. In addition, Kevin is a faculty member at IONS and was an instructor and author for the SANS Institute. And now that we've said all these nice things about him, he's got a really big head. Welcome, Kevin.
I don't believe any of that stuff anyways, so it's okay.
That's good. That's good. So speaking
I
of...
don't remember ever getting in trouble with you. I remember doing things that probably should have gotten us in trouble.
Okay, maybe a little bit better clarification on that. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
I'm curious, what kinds of things did you two do that should have gotten you in trouble?
It's still under
You're just
non-disclosure.
jealous we didn't do them with you.
Yeah, well, that's true too.
And some of them may be under non-disclosure agreement still. So, hey, there's that.
Yeah.
Yeah, is it the
Too
statute
many
of limitation
damn
or non-disclosure agreement? Let's be clear.
What was that, Jeff?
What?
Is it the statute of limitations or a non-disclosure agreement?
Why don't we have
good
both?
point.
Why don't we have both? All right.
Okay, no los dos.
In any case, Kevin, I'm really glad that you do not have a goatee, because then I would not be able to tell you apart from your evil twin.
I don't have an evil twin. Oh, wait, I do.
Or are you the evil twin?
He thinks I'm the evil twin, but I would argue otherwise, and I'm right because I've got the microphone.
Yes, and your company's named Professionally Evil, after all. Right?
Yeah, we're professionally evil, not evil.
Right. Your tagline for your company, Secure Ideas, is Professionally Evil. Yeah, my bad.
No, it's okay. Everybody thinks we're professionally evil. Like, that's the name of the company.
But it's not.
And we've just said, fuck it, and gone with it.
Smart idea. So trademark those names, too.
Already done.
Yeah, exactly. So, Kevin, it's been a while since you've been on the show, and instead of making our listeners go all the way back into whenever you were on last, we want to ask a question. How'd you get your start in information security?
Oh, God.
You knew it was coming.
I knew it was coming. You even warned me. I don't know. There was this one case where maybe I'd gotten into a shipping container and the CIA was closing in, and then the King's Guards came and interrupted, and they gave me an option of getting into cybersecurity or being buried in the tomb of the unknown soldier, and I picked cybersecurity. Is that good?
Oh, yeah. See, I thought you were going to say you picked the tomb of the unknown soldier for a second there.
I should have.
I'm thinking that's a good movie script.
Yeah, it was good. I just watched. Somebody told me, I don't even know the name of the damn show. It's like on CBS or something, and it's like one of the guy in the show is a con artist, and the woman in the show is a CIA agent or something like that. I don't know. But,
Uncharted or Red Notice or.
Sorry?
You mean so half of the show's on CBS?
Yes.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not Scorpion Absurd, right? Where they flew the plane over the runway and had the co-pilot lean out of the landing gear with a Cat5 cable so they could hack the plane and save the day.
I mean, clearly it had to be Cat 6 for that to pull that off.
No, it was only Cat5 because they were missing one. So, all seriousness, I was involved in IT. I graduated high school, got a job developing software and running a network for what we would call a startup nowadays, but in 1991, that's not what they were called. And worked my way to be a developer, an admin, and then started working on security stuff and released Base, the web front end. It was a fork of Acid, which was the web front end for Snort. And that got me known, for the lack of a better term. And I was in a class Mike Poor was teaching. And Mike took a group of us to dinner, Brazilian steakhouse. And
shocking.
Yeah, no, I know. Who would ever guess Mike Poor would take us to a Brazilian steakhouse? And he asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up. And I told him I wanted to be him. So.
Wow. So how'd that work
I
out
think
for
that
you?
works.
How'd that work out for you? I'm kidding.
Well, I mean,
I'm kidding.
Mike's still doing well. I have a company I own that has 27 employees that require paychecks every 2 weeks, which is just shocking.
All right, so you did well. You did well, and the irony when you said you forked base from what was it? Acid. And it was Snort. I'm like, this is again one of the only industries that you can have drug references and not actually be talking about drugs.
Yeah, we can have an entire. I used to say that all the time, that we could have a discussion about snort, barf, fu,
vomit,
and
vomit, snarf. Yep, and not be talking about bodily functions.
Sniff the logs.
Yep.
Drop the back end or something like that.
We could use all those terms and not be talking about bodily functions.
Exactly.
Snarf, vomit, and burp.
Caught them with their pants down.
What? Wow.
What?
Caught them with their pants down.
I don't know what you're talking about. Back Orifice 2000.
Well, I mean,
yes. I got my sort of first intro into sort of cyber with Back Orifice. I could talk about that all day.
I think so many of us did, which is actually kind of terrifying. Yeah.
I actually, I don't know if it will show up very well. I have a signed copy of Cult of the Dead Cow here. I can't remember who signed it though. Joseph Mann.
I was going to say, hopefully Joseph Mann.
I guess it was Joseph that signed it.
Kevin, the Cult of the Dead Cow book.
Yes. I always find it funny. A lot of people have thought that I looked like Kevin Mitnick, talking about signatures.
Oh my gosh.
A better looking Kevin Mitnick, if anything.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. But here's the funny part. I have been asked by a large number of people to sign my book, and then they hand me a Kevin Mitnick book. And so I sign them. So if you ever see a Kevin Mitnick book signed Kevin Johnson, it's probably not worth anything.
That's amazing. You should keep doing that. I've got way too many Kevin Mitnick books.
Kevin Mitnick actually got like talent.
Oh,
Wow.
Wait.
Anyway,
when did Kevin Mitnick ever have talent?
If he got it.
I mean, he had talent with I would argue, a sense of humor. He did leave FBI donuts. Like
No, sense of humor. I totally get the guy, and I respect that immensely. And don't get me wrong, I've talked to him. He's a lovely person. It's funny as hell.
No, he's not.
And he's smart as hell. But he's not.
He's not a lovely person. He's not smart as hell.
I'm not a fan.
He's smart as hell in certain cunning, street smart. Do you know what I mean? In certain arenas, he is. I would argue that.
No, scummy, unethical, liar, Scientologist.
I don't know.
These are words I would use.
Either way.
Wow.
I didn't know he was a Scientologist either.
I don't know that he's a Scientologist, but he is one of the people in charge of KnowBe4, which is based in Clearwater. And I believe it's legally impossible to run a company in Clearwater without being a Scientologist.
Huh. So completely circumstantial. But
yes, totally circumstantial, but I'm starting the rumor right now.
Oh gosh, you heard it here. You heard it here first, folks. Speaking of, I was going to say hearing about it here first, but not really here first. Kevin, you've got a new product called Professionally Evil Testing as a Service.
Yes, yes. It's not actually a new product. It's a branding of something we've been doing for a few years now.
Right. But you did have some recent announcements that this is what it was going to be called, and this is what you were doing. Tell us about it, because it kind of ties into what we came here to talk about today.
Yeah, actually, well, I mean, it's something, Jason and I, Jason is one of the owners of Secure Ideas. There's three of us that own it, Denise, Jason, and I. And Jason and I have been trying to figure out how to continue, and this feels salesy, but our business goal is to provide the best penetration testing experience possible. Not here's the coolest hacks, not here's a checkbox automated scan, but what's the best experience possible? And one of the things that we've been seeing is that a lot of organizations, not all, please don't take this as an absolute, right? Because all absolutes are false. But we've seen a lot of organizations that are rolling out what they refer to as pen testing as a service. And for most of those, what they mean is an automated scanner, right? And so Jason and I sat down, looked at it, said, how do we compete with this, but actually continue to provide real pen testing, right? Because that's the important thing. This is, Larry, you and I talked about this earlier. This is something that, a group of us have been fighting in the industry for years, right?
Yes.
John Strand, I think, coined the term pen test puppy mills, right? And so what we did was we took the services we already offer, and then bundled it up with an advisory component and named it Professional Legal Testing as a Service. And so the main core part of it is pen testing that fits what you actually need, not something that just checks a box, but actually helps you move the needle forward. Does that make sense?
Yes. So
Yes.
as we were saying earlier on our pre-call, it's not an automated type of thing. While you may certainly use some automation to enhance what you do, it is not the end all be all. There is definitely a human involved in the analysis, the confirmation, and all of those types of things.
Actually doing the testing, right? And that human is skilled not just in hacking, in pen testing, but in actually running the systems they're testing, right? Because this is something that I've always said is important, is that if you don't understand the system you're testing, how do you possibly give good recommendations, right? I was just talking to somebody earlier today, a potential customer, and they were talking about their last pen test. And I'm in my head, I'm trying to make sure I make this as vague as possible, so I'm not breaching any confidentiality things, right? And they were talking about it, and they were very disappointed in the last pen test they had, which I will point out was not done by my organization or anybody whose organization is on this session. And when I tried to pin them down, right, like, okay, why? Because I don't want you to just bash a competitor. I want to make sure that if there's something you're not happy about, that we ensure that we don't do something similar, right? And what he was talking about was he got a pen test report that completely ignored the core function of the business.
Oh.
And told them they needed to do something that was just asinine, right? Like, oh, you have 87 trillion documents. Why aren't you virus scanning them every day, right? Like that kind of thing, right? And it's stupid. And I see somebody just said, I wonder if things like Pen Test GPT will steal market share. And the answer is yes.
Yes.
And it shouldn't. Right?
Yeah.
Like
before we get to let's table the pen test GPT stuff for a little bit, because I know we want to touch on the AI stuff, but yeah, I think the quote manual intervention and having the human understanding of a pen test and what the organization is looking to get out of it as a result is critical to having a non-pen test puppy mill pen test and be good for the organization.
And this to me is one of the things that should drive that is the understanding that a pen test is not really what you want. What you want is an understanding of what you should be fixing. Mm-hmm. Right? And that's why, like, we say it to people all the time. People come to us and say, I need a pen test. Why do you need a pen test? Because I was told I need a pen test. Okay. And we talk to them, right? Yep. Okay, what's your goal? What's your this and that? And the number of times I've said to businesses, you don't need a pen test. As a matter of fact, you not only don't need a pen test, you don't want a pen test, because all we're going to do is come in and beat you up.
Yep.
And you're not going to be able to fix that. What you need is a cooperative exercise where we evaluate things and help you understand what the risks are so that you can fix the problems. The problem is they have a checkbox that says, I'm sorry?
Go ahead, Josh.
To be clear, you're not talking about purple teaming. You're talking about something different.
No, I'm not talking about purple
teaming. Because when people think
I'm talking about
exercise, they think
coming in and saying, okay, How do you handle patching? How do you handle this? Right? We love talking about the newest logoed vulnerability and the newest, and we still have motherfuckers out there running Windows, right? We have systems that haven't been patched in 10 years. These companies aren't worried about APT and nation states. They're worried about how to keep their system from crashing.
And I love it.
right?
Kevin cut out at the perfect moment. He said, "We have motherfuckers out there running Windows." And it didn't specify the version because you cut out right at the right spot.
I was saying Windows Vista.
Oh, good Lord. That's even worse than I expected.
It sounds like you were just
dude,
we security consulting, wouldn't you?
Say it again, Sam?
It sounds like you're describing just security consulting, right?
Except the problem is that the compliance requirements explicitly say you need a penetration test.
Oh.
Right? And so these companies come to us and say, hey, I need a pen test. And don't get me wrong, I'm a greedy capitalist. If you want a pen test and you've got money, I'll sell you a pen test. Right? Because I've got 27 people that require my help paying their mortgage. The problem is...
But what's the difference between the definition of a pen test and what you're talking about now? I mean, as far as I'm concerned, that's a pen test.
Well, and that's right. Then you start playing games with wordings, right? Now we're technically correct, but which we all know technically correct is the best form of correct.
Right.
Kevin, so you've got this whole aspect of, you know, they come to you with a compliance requirement. There's a checkbox that says pen test, and they need to check this damn box. And you're like, yeah, but yes. I actually need to tell you what you need to fix. They're like, I don't know the difference. So why don't you sell them that and say, check your box. We gave you a pen test. We tested what needs to be fixed in your environment to make you be more secure.
Do that. We absolutely do that. We absolutely sell them what they need and then bundle it. But here's the issue. Some of that time that we have that work, because don't get me wrong, I bill for my time, right? I'm a greedy capitalist.
Damn you.
I want to be protested by the Occupy movement. That's my business goal, right? If we sell them a pen test, we have to do a pen test. We cannot fake that because we're basically issuing a report that says this is what we do. And in many cases, that takes away from the effort of the things they actually need. They need a security assessment. They need security consulting. They need, right? And that's why I say that what we should be doing is working to get organizations to understand what they're trying to do, what they're trying to accomplish.
I'm going to push back
the first question I ask, I'm sorry?
I'm going to push back slightly, and I'm not trying to be a jackass, but why do you say that what you do is not a pen test?
Say that again?
Why do you say that what you do when you tell them, hey, these are the 10 things you need to fix? Why do you say that's not a pen test?
Well, according to every definition that I've seen of a penetration test, if I'm not actually attempting to exploit something, it is not a penetration test.
So you have to demonstrate one of those vulnerabilities by exploiting it. Then it's a pen test, right?
Right.
Yeah.
If I review your configs and say that's broken and tell you how to fix it, and that's all I do, that's not a pen test. If I run a scan of you and tell you those are the things you need to fix, that's not a pen test.
Well, but you only have to put a little bit.
That's incorrect.
Okay.
Wait, I'm sorry.
That's incorrect.
I don't know which one.
Because if you ask 30 different pen testers, and I've actually done this, including you, by the way, to define a pen test, you get 30 different definitions.
Absolutely.
I have a document literally trying to define pen tests at various levels, by the way, including automated ones. And I'm very specific that automated pen testing is not pen testing. It is the start of the process. Okay, and we'll talk about that in a bit. But seriously, defining a pen test is a problem. We don't have a definition.
That's not true.
So why are you telling me you can't?
There's tons of definitions.
What you're doing as a pen test?
You did and I don't mean to be a jackass, but I am an asshole. It's in court records.
It is.
What you did is no different than the late night show microphone in somebody's face on a street corner saying, "What's the capital of Lithuania?" Right? You asked 30 people to define a pen test, and all 30 people said something different. Penetration testing has been defined. We can pick any number of standards. NIST has a definition of it. CISA has a definition of it. PCI has a definition of it. And the commonality between all of those standard definitions is attempt to exploit the vulnerability.
Okay, well, some of the things
That's
that you're going to
simple.
fix for them include vulnerabilities. So exploit one.
I'm sorry?
Pen test. Next. Some of the things you're going to fix for them. You're going to tell them, hey, this is a flaw in your configuration on this firewall. I'm making this up. Roll with me. And you say this could introduce a vulnerability. And I'm going to exploit it and show you that it's a true vulnerability. You've just created a pen test.
Right, but what you did was you exploited one vulnerability. You know as well as I do that if that thing goes to court, that's not going to hold up as a pen test.
Yeah, and if we look into it a bit further, I did some work with PCI DSS back during COVID times, and they have a definition for it now, and it involves scoping, discovery, reporting, sort of thing, and it physically
Segmentation
says that
testing.
it has to go further than a vulnerability test. So
to that, Kevin, you're doing it in maybe a little bit more manual fashion. You're taking the pen test, in this case, as the definition of you need to exploit a vulnerability. You're maybe taking that and going above and beyond, giving it that business context, giving it the actual real world fixes. Why can't we do that in automated fashion? Like, why can't we push a button and do a pen test and say, well, you need to fix these things because you're in the manufacturing business, and these are the core problems that manufacturing faces, and this is why you need to fix it?
We absolutely can, and here's what it'll take. I saw this meme already by developers, about developers. AI is about to replace developers everywhere. That's the hype, right? Do you know what it would require for AI to replace developers? The customer would have to be able to define what they want the developer to build. Development jobs are safe.
Oh, that's priceless. I will also say that based on my recent interaction, I'm doing an update for a SANS course. I need a very specific packet capture with very specific elements. I want these elements added to this already existing packet capture, and I defined it very well. And it took 8 iterations of ChatGPT version 4 to give me something that actually worked. You know why? The first 5 times, it worked the first time, but I needed to add a little bit more to the specification to define additional parameters. It did that, except the next 5 times, tries 2 through 7, it kept forgetting sections of the code. Like, this code doesn't run because you forgot to define this function. Oh, my bad. Let me define that function for you. And it defined the function, and you run it again, and the same function hadn't been defined. Like, it literally forgot to do the thing you told it to do. Like, it's not going to take over your job yet.
But let's give it the benefit, right? I forget shit you told me to do all the time. So I have pen tester ADHD. The issue with having automation today doing penetration testing is that the vast majority of the benefit a Secure Ideas customer gets, and I want to be very clear, this is not Secure Ideas specific.
Right.
Red Siege, Tim Medine, right? Same thing. You go look at their pen testing, they're giving you the same difference. And that is the ability to look at what we see on the network or what we see in the application, and then correlate that to what the business does, what their actual worries are, what keeps them awake, whatever, right? that correlation requires intuitive leaps, for the lack of a better term, right? Remember, I barely made it out of high school, so I don't know the big words.
Oh, shut up. You know all the big words, damn it.
He just doesn't know what they mean.
Defenestration. I love that defenestration is a word. And I used to always wonder why defenestration was a word, and Russia has proven why defenestration is a word. For the people who don't know, defenestrate is to throw somebody through a window. So those intuitive leaps are what a person does, right? When Larry, and I know this, you know, for the people who don't know, Larry is one of the people I look up to, one of the people I admire.
Which is ironic. I was going to say you look up to me, which ironically, because I'm much shorter than you are.
I don't know about much shorter, but you are the guy that had the chicken head looking at you at dinner in Australia.
It was a pigeon.
So you're right. It was a pigeon. It was a pigeon.
And it was delicious. In any case.
I was just talking to somebody about that.
In any case.
Okay, tangent. I'm full of tangents. I could tangent all over the fucking place, right? And ChatGPT is not plagiarism. When we look at a network, right? How many times have you gotten domain admin rights, or have you hacked an application because you looked at something and said, why does that work that way?
Every time.
Right?
Like,
yeah.
And I love that you went from how many times did you get domain admin to changing that scenario? Because I used to measure back in the day, and I think many folks still do, that like the end all be all of a pen test is, hey, I got domain admin, I control all the things, I can do whatever I want on your network. Here's now the risk that I can do whatever I want in a network. And I used to judge that getting domain admin on a network was like my coup de grace, and now I'd go out for a steak dinner. But of course, that wasn't the end. We demonstrated what we could do with that type of access and other access paths and so forth. But there was one test that I went on that was with someone else, and we didn't get domain admin. And my coworker said, well, you don't get to take yourself out for a steak dinner. And I said, you're right. I'm going to go take myself out for lobster instead. Because while we didn't get domain admin, we were able to compromise all their their telecom systems, like the phones that they have in the conference rooms. And we sat in on an active call where they had the design and planning meeting for the next year for all of the products that they were going to launch. If a competitor had been on that call, their business would have been over. Like, that's worse than getting domain admin.
Well, and we do that, right? We're testing an application. Is it, I mean, I was working on this one app and, pen testing this one application, and we got administrative rights on the application, and that was exciting. And oh my gosh, steak dinner or whatever, right? It's funny that we all say steak dinner, even if we're vegetarian. I'm not vegetarian, I'm just saying. And when we looked at it, the administrator had very little rights in the application. Then we found out that this was a multi-tenant system, and really the administrator's job was to make sure the system was running, right? They weren't doing anything else. And so we backed up, because that's what we do, right? When you get to something, you exploit it, you look around, see where you can pivot, and then you back up, right? And when we backed up and went back in, we realized that it wasn't an administrator we wanted. What we were able to do was to submit transactions and break the integrity of the logging of who did that transaction. And that was actually a much bigger risk for the organization, because their core business was guaranteeing the integrity of these transactions.
Yep.
Right?
And these are exactly reasons why AI we won't lose our jobs as pen testers, because having that quote intuitive leap of faith to know that back up and try this other thing, AI might not have gotten that. Automation wouldn't have gotten that. They would have just gone for that straight path. And that's where the human part comes in. Because One of the things we talked about before before the show, Kevin, was the challenge, and I can't remember the name of the company, and we did bring it up a little bit. I think after the show
3.
last week. No, about the Jorge Orquiles challenge. We talked about that. Allegedly, Jorge saw some booth at RSA, and it was basically the booth advertising was basically along the lines as we can replace your pen testers with 3 clicks, and it's so easy a 9-year-old could do it, kind of thing. And Jorge said basically on Twitter, took a picture and said lies, and that was it. So the company got all up in arms that a professional pen tester is calling what we do lies, and we used artificial intelligence and machine learning so that all it takes is 3 clicks. And then they came back and said, well, actually, it's 6 clicks now because we added some functionality. This 9-year-old can do it, and we can do this thing faster in this large scope, faster than Jorge can. And Jorge, we challenge you to a test that you can't hack this network faster than we can. And it didn't need to be faster. It just needed to be better. Clearly this AI tool was going to do it faster. But is it going to be applicable to what the business needs? And can a 9-year-old do it? Probably. Either way, the 9-year-old got their PS5, and that's the thing. But yeah, there was all sorts of other stuff.
It was Horizon 3.ai. I just pasted the tweet from Jorge, a graphic of it in Discord. Right. Okay. Here's the thing. I've never used Horizon 3. Other than asking them why they're the 3rd version, right? It's like Preparation H. What happened to Preparation A through G?
Yeah.
Did Horizon 1 and 2 fail? But the idea that this braggartness, I don't know another word for it, right? That's not even a real word. This reminds me of Oracle saying they were unbreakable.
How'd that work out for them?
Yeah. Oh, it was great. Right. To me, this is marketing, and marketing is bullshit in almost every case.
Yeah, they totally admitted it was a good, and some of our folks in our industry picked up that it was a complete marketing BS thing, and there was allegedly some talks about it, and they talked to Jorge after Jorge threatened to sue them because they used his likeness without permission and a whole bunch of other. It went around and around, and there was appeared to be disingenuous behavior, and allegedly they got it all sorted out, but still,
I'm glad they got it all sorted out.
Yeah, because
I find that kind of stuff.
Yeah, Jorge's amazing.
Yeah, Jorge's great. This is, I don't know. When you see organizations like this, here's the thing. Here's what Horizon 3 is trying to do. They are an automation company.
Sure.
Right? Because you know the difference between AI and machine learning, right?
Yes.
Sam does. Really? Sam, tell us.
I'm not so sure. I have to hear you tell us that.
And then I want to hear Sam.
Artificial intelligence is the overriding field. Machine learning is a subset of artificial intelligence, primarily concerned with pattern recognition.
No, Mister.
No, that's actually the formal definition.
AI, machine learning is written in Python, and AI is written in PowerPoint.
He's got you there, Josh. He's got you there.
I'm right.
Yeah. Sam, you look like you're going to say something.
I think that's real intelligence that's written in PowerPoint.
No, I've written PowerPoint. It's not real intelligence. Here's what Horizon 3 is trying to do, right? They have an automated testing tool. I've not used their tool. I have no experience with it. So I'm making assumptions based on other things I've seen, right? They've got an automated scanning tool, and they have to compete with the reputation and industry entrenchedness of Qualys, Rapid7, and Tenable. So what they have to do is they literally just have to come out and piss in somebody else's Wheaties, right? They can't come out and say, oh, we scan better than Nessus, right? Because people will say, well, I
Yeah,
already
whatever.
have Nessus,
Yeah,
so
whatever.
how much better are you?
Yeah,
right?
Nessus has been doing this forever. How can you be better than Nessus at it?
Yes. So, and I'm not saying they're not better than Nessus because I haven't used their tool,
Right.
but they have to do something to get people to notice them. And putting out something that says, 3 clicks to replace a 20-year pen tester. I mean, I've seen 20-year pen testers that suck donkey. They might be better than them, but I'll put.
Sorry to do what?
I'll go so far as to say
They suck
I've
donkey.
got a pen. I'm sorry.
Josh is like, they what? I said they suck donkey, but Kevin was nice enough to leave balls off of it.
I left it off. We didn't have to go back to it, right? Anybody else notice that Josh's microphone spirals into green and it shows his background on the microphone periodically?
Yes, it's awesome.
Okay.
I keep getting told, keep doing it. It's awesome. So sure. There we go.
I've got people on my staff that are new to the field. And I bet you, and when I say new, I mean really new. All right. I bet you that they will find stuff testing a network that an automated tool won't. And I can make that bet because I've seen them do it.
Yeah, totally.
I've seen them take their knowledge of business, their knowledge of what the organization does, their knowledge of what is actually worrisome for that organization, and chain together 3 or 4 different low risk or informational findings from some automated piece of shit tool and provide benefit to a customer that the customer didn't think of.
Yep. But why can't something like PenGPT do that?
I think it honestly is that we don't know how to describe it.
And that's a great Sam. Sam, you're chomping at the bit. I can see it.
Yeah. See, I think your example from earlier, when it took you like 8 questions to get the code you wanted, shows the real situation. Current machine learning can't really do much of anything without a lot of very careful prompting by somebody that understands prompt engineering. So, I mean, the current state of it can't be the boss of anything. All it can do is it can help you do something if you nudge it along. It's like a very junior assistant that doesn't really know much of anything, and everything they give you is wrong, and you have to send it back to them like 5 or 6 times for correction.
Mm-hmm. And Sam, these are the same reasons why you sent over to us a free class on becoming a better prompt engineer. So how we can actually use something like ChatGPT to be better at what we do and enhance what we do, not do what we do, but enhance what we do.
Yeah, because it's just a tool.
And why good prompt engineers are making $350,000 a year right now, which is insanity.
You sound so much like a LinkedIn scam.
But it's true.
But anyway, it's so very far from replacing humans.
Yep.
It requires a human to baby it and coddle it along at every step.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but here's the thing with that, right? This is why UBI is critical.
Yeah.
Right now, and I'm not going to call them prompt engineers because I have good friends who went through engineering classes, and asking questions is not an engineering job.
What about social engineers, which is almost the same thing?
They're not engineers either. Do they have an iron ring?
Agreed 100% by the way.
So we use these terms without thinking about this is, and okay, I'll tie this back. This is why AI isn't going to replace pen testers anytime soon. It's because we use words without thinking about what they mean.
Good point.
We do it all the time.
Engineer, right?
Yeah, engineer.
Pen test.
Me, I barely graduated high school, and when I say that, I'm not saying that as a joke, right? I'm saying that as I barely made it through high school. We're now a lot of years later. I just turned 50 earlier this year, right? And my career, and I can call it that now, which really blows my mind periodically, right? But my career has been based on my ability to look at things and say, I wonder what I can do with that. I wonder what we can do to make that work the way I want it to. And and I liked IT. I'm a nerd. I like computers. I like fiddling around with technology. And so it started by understanding how to make that laptop work. And then you put me in front of a Unix system or a Linux system or AIX or whatever, and I figured out what the shell did and how the shell worked and what happened. That drive to figure something out. The day you can show me an AI system that actually learns, then I will believe that we can replace people. And the idea that, we're going to need, AI systems are not going to replace people. AI systems are absolutely going to replace people. I will tell you right now that every single one of those people, there was a company that I won't say was White Hat, but it was White Hat, that they would teach people, okay, your job is to test for SQL injection. Here's how you teach. This is my understanding. I did not work there, but I've talked to people who did. That, hey, go look at this thing. And you're going to look for this flaw. And you are going to look for this flaw. And you are going to look for this other flaw. And it was like an assembly line, right? And a lot of really good people came out of that because they looked at it and said, okay, I know this. I understand how this works. But now I want to learn that thing over there, right? That's what I want to see AI do. When ChatGPT shows that it went further and actually tried to learn something, then yes, it'll replace people in mass. But we will replace certain people. Somebody asked, I don't remember who did it, was will they take market share? And the answer is, of course they'll take market share. They're going to take market share no differently than Nessus takes market share.
Right.
I just did a month ago, I was in a job we were bidding on, and we're not expensive relatively. Secure Ideas bills retail $325 an hour. The average pen test, if I had to give you a swag at a price, $30,000, right? And by the way, all that information is on our website. We put our pricing on our website because we're tired of people that like, oh, you must call me to get a quote. Fuck you.
You have to call. You can't afford it.
Seriously, why do we do that? Why do we hide the pricing of our services? Like, oh, we're special consultants.
Whenever I see that, I figure you're just crooks and you're taking whatever you can get out of me.
My answer is, here's my catalog. Here's how you can scope it yourself. Here's how you can estimate what the cost is. And you know what? If you call me, I may be able to work out pricing that's better because I understand things about your network that you don't know and how they affect my testing. But we're going to lose people. We're going to lose jobs. We're going to lose market share because there are way too many organizations that only care about price. So I bid $30,000 on this job, and I found out I lost to a company that bid $2,500.
$2,500
for a full-blown penetration test.
How many
now,
IPs?
You know as well as I do.
Yeah,
that was not a full-blown pen test.
No, it was not.
No.
Right.
That's one of those places that charge $7 an IP address, and they barely scrub the Nessus logo off the report.
Like I said, not a pen test.
Yeah,
yep.
Right.
Exactly.
We're on the same page.
You bring it full circle. But so, Kevin, we've gone around this one quite a bit, and I think that one sort of wraps us right back full circle, right?
Excuse me.
But you mentioned something right sort of towards the end there about loving technology and education. Samurai
WTF.
Yeah.
It's very important to get the last three letters on there because those do not stand for what the fuck.
No, they stand for Web Testing Framework.
Web Training Framework.
It used to be Web Testing Framework.
Yes, it was. And we changed it a few years ago, and you'll see it both ways still, even in our README, so we suck. But we changed the focus. When Samurai WTF was first built, and remember that it was built because I was bored one weekend. When I started it and then Justin started helping out, we were very focused on building out tooling to help you test web applications. And then what we realized was that tools aren't what you need. What you needed was a way to learn, a way to practice, a way to do whatever. I think it was about the same time that we open sourced Professional Evil Web App Pen Testing 101. which is a 6-day course that is not SANS 542. Of course not, because
reasons.
that's SANS. But we started focusing more on how do you provide a training environment? How do you provide an environment for people to learn in? And we just released 5.3, which is, I think, what you're getting at, right? And I'm afraid that I lost my internet connection again.
Nope, you're still here.
Okay, good.
You're still here. Sorry, I
lightning struck my house and wiped out my cable modem and my wireless.
Yep.
So I'm on a hotspot right now.
So Samurai is going a little bit of an evolution, is it not?
Yeah.
What 5.3 is coming out soon? If it isn't already out.
So 5.3 is out. We did the release. We just haven't announced it, right? So
you heard it here first, folks.
You heard it here first. Exactly. We announced it on Security Weekly. Should we call this LSW today?
Yes.
Okay, I'm very upset that the Discord channel wasn't renamed.
I mean, it's just like having it be web testing framework versus web training framework. We suck.
No. It's very, very different, Larry, Paul. You guys don't look anything alike. You're very different people.
Yeah, one of us is way better looking than the other.
Now I'm not sure whether I want to make the joke that it's Paul or that it's you.
Exactly.
Larry's an admin. He could rename it.
I could, but
Larry could rename it.
I could, but I'm too busy talking to my good friend Kevin here instead.
There you go.
Maybe during the news. Maybe during the news. Anything else on a Samurai you want to talk about, Kevin? Like you told me about a couple of other things that were potentially coming
further down the path of containerization. When Samurai started, it was an ISO. For the record, I have a disc of that ISO autographed by the 3 developers hanging on my wall in my office still to this day. That's beautiful. I love it. And then we moved to virtual machines, and then we moved to Vagrant. We're now moving further down the path of actually building tooling to stand up containers that are self-contained and in a lab environment. And all of it's going to be open sourced. We're open source fanatics. So, and the goal is to actually enable, if you're building a lab environment to learn something, to train, to whatever, here is the framework to build out those containers. Obviously the containers, what you're running in the containers, you'll have to figure out, but really to build out lab environments for learning.
Nice.
Because too many people aren't.
Yeah, and to that learning, I did have one of the things in our notes to potentially talk about OpenSBK.
Yes, OpenSBK. This is something I've been talking about for a while, and I need time. I've talked to Josh about it. I've talked to lots of people about it. If we look at the industry, way too much of the industry is tied around these towers of certification and knowledge enclaves, if you want to say, right? How much does it cost you to take a class right now? If you woke up tomorrow and said, I want to be a web pen tester, what's the class cost you?
It depends. It depends on the quality of the material and where you go for it.
I don't think it depends on the quality. And here's why I say that.
It's free.
I've seen amazing quality stuff sold for $20 on Udemy.
True.
I've also seen really shitty stuff sold for $10,000 at some conference running a class, right?
Yep.
And I've also seen amazing stuff sold for $10,000 at a conference with a class. I don't think cost is the thing.
Okay, fair enough.
But I do think that the sites that have the highest cost have pushed the awareness of them too high to the point where people feel that's the only way to get in. Have you ever looked at what it costs to get your CISSP?
No.
It's a lot.
You mean besides the test, or you mean the training?
I'm sorry?
You mean besides the test? The test itself is, I think, $600?
No, it's $800 now.
Is it $800? Jeez, okay.
And technically, that's the only thing that you need to purchase for your certification, correct? You do not need to take a training. You don't need to buy a book. You could walk in it cold and technically take that test.
Well, 2 of my SAN certs, I did that. My GCIH and my GCFA, I walked in, took the test, passed high enough that they asked me to teach class. Right? So it's possible. But OpenSPK is an attempt to build out an understanding, to have an open body of knowledge, right? So if you say, I want to be a web pen tester, here are the things you need to know to be an apprentice level web pen tester. Here's what you need to know to be a journeyman pen tester, whatever, right? And what we're trying to do is build out more of that information, not to sell a certification, not to sell a class, but so that somebody, you want to go take the Portswigger web pen testing certification? Here are the things you need to know, right? And oh, by the way, I wrote a class on that topic. Let's say I can show where my class, if I'm the author of a class, and I'm not saying me personally, I'm using me as an example. You're able to say, here is what you need to know, and here's how I cover those things that you need to know, right?
Yep.
That's the goal of OpenSPK. Part of that, just recently, we pulled the current version of penetration testing execution standard and put it in a GitHub. And we're looking to update it and get it up to speed to be more modernized. PTES has not been updated in, 87 years?
It's been a long time.
15, I'm working on the definition of a pen test. It's an open document.
Yeah. Open document that how many people have edited?
No. I have a document, a Google Doc that's open to the world to help edit, to change the definition of a pen test, or to add the definition of a pen test to it. I'm trying to update PTES.
So instead of doing it there, do it in GitHub where people can do pull requests and people can fork it and make their changes and then submit it back.
Oh, okay, I can do that. I didn't think about that. Sorry, I've just been living in Google for a while.
I know that. I live in Google all the time. I've got a repo right now in GitHub under the OpenSPK organization that is public to the world that you can fork and make your edits to and then do a pull request back.
Do you mind if I throw it in there?
No, of course I don't mind. That's the whole point, is to put this out here and have people contribute.
Yep. And this is
lovely.
And Kevin, when you said this, I was like, ooh, this is a fantastic idea, because I did see some talk in the industry from some of the folks that put the original PTES together to say, hey, we should bring this back up again. We should modify this. We should update this. And from everything you saw publicly, it kind of like died on the vine. Now, this wasn't that long ago. So
it was a week ago.
I think it might have even been a little bit longer ago, but then again, I slept a couple of times, and so in any case, I know some of the folks involved, like Chris Nickerson, and I want to say Chris John Riley, and some of those folks had like that conversation, but don't know whether anything happened to it. So to see this is good to move to those aims.
Here is the biggest problem that we have. And this is with lots of things. There are people like you and I, and I don't mean this rudely. You've mentioned a couple times that we're good friends. I will let anybody know that my scale of trust of people is based on, would I have dinner with this person? Would I invite this person to my house? I would let Larry watch my children, right? That's saying a lot. That's how much I trust this man.
Saying a lot.
I agree with you and second that motion, by the way.
Larry is one of the best people I know. And I mean that in every way. Every interaction I've had with Larry, I love Larry. I would have Larry's children, right? Which that's a Photoshop effort you guys can do if you want. But
please don't.
Now I want to see it. Way too many of us who 10 years ago, 15 years ago, OpenSBK with a body of knowledge, right? There are too many of us that started, ran, built things, released things, and those things drove our careers to a point where we were, for some definition of the word, successful. And because of that, it's very difficult for people like us to figure out the time to get this stuff done.
Yeah.
The only way that things like OpenSPK are going to be accomplished, the only way that an update to PTES is going to happen, is that we don't depend on the Nickersons and the Johnsons and the Pesci's and the whatever to do it by themselves, is that we go back to the idea of community that we've had for so long and actually use that idea of community to be a community. That's what you got to do. We have too many things where we fight each other on stupid shit.
Yep. Come back
It
together.
irritates the piss out of me.
Come back together. So Kevin, we're getting close to the end of our time together for this interview.
All right.
But again, like we asked you how you got your start in information security, I want to ask you again 5 questions with Larry's Security Weekly. Well, actually, the first time we asked, it was 5 questions with Paul's Security Weekly. Now it's going to be 5 questions with Larry's Security Weekly.
Okay.
You ready?
Okay. Yeah.
3 words to describe yourself.
Nerdy, fat, lazy.
Oh, all right. If you had to,
you're a liar. Lazy is not you. Don't lie.
I'm a lazy fuck. I'm just a lazy fuck that realized he has to do things to accomplish things.
if you had to write a book about yourself, what would the title be?
If I had to write a book about myself, motherfucker.
All right. It's a great title, motherfucker. If you were a serial killer, what would be your weapon of choice?
If I was a serial killer,
Yes.
what would be my weapon of choice? God, I don't know. Probably a gun.
Defenestration.
I'm sorry?
Defenestration.
Defenestration, yes. I would be the defenestration killer.
Nice. Nice. What is your favorite hacker movie and why is it episode 1? I'm kidding. No, what is your favorite hacker movie?
What is my favorite hacker movie? Oh, God. I mean, I liked Hackers. I liked Matrix. I don't know. I don't really watch very many movies.
Come on, you can't be in the hackers camp because that's Paul's camp.
No, I can. Oh, okay.
I mean, you can.
Matrix.
You can.
I mean, I worked it in Guardians, so it has to be Matrix. That's like,
I mean,
the ghosts of In Guardians past will haunt me if I don't say Matrix.
I won't haunt you. I promise. I promise.
Yes, because you and I are both ghosts of In Guardians past.
Yes. Yeah.
I was there when it was Intel Guardians, and we're not supposed to say that anymore.
Right. And we are no longer in Guardians. We're out Guardians.
Yes, you're right. I forgot that.
Yes. All right. Final question of the 5. Pick 2 celebrities to be your parents.
Living, dead, fictional, or otherwise.
2 celebrities to be my parents?
Yep.
I don't even like my real parents.
That's exactly the point. That's why exactly the point. Pick 2 new ones. It can be whoever you want. And it is 2023, so your options are completely open.
I don't even know what that means.
You could pick a car.
Not sure.
You could pick a car and a horse, and it would be appropriate in 2023.
I would pick a car and a horse. Okay. Well, I mean, I would absolutely love Bail Organa to be my father. I mean, I'm assuming you mean the character, not the person. Right?
The character.
Yes.
Fictional or otherwise, right? Fiction.
Okay.
Yeah, Bail Organa.
Bail Organa would absolutely would be my dad. And my mom, oh geez, I don't know.
Let's see whether he comes up with the Oedipus complex or not.
Yeah, no, see that's the problem, right? Like, can't be Marissa Tomei, that's out. And
So Bail Organa and Marissa Tomei it? No, I'm kidding.
No. I don't know. Maybe Josh Marpet. That would who I would want to be my mom.
Wow.
He's a celebrity, right?
He can be a celebrity in your own mind, and that makes him a celebrity.
I don't even know what to say, but thank you, I think.
Yeah, I want to see you make me a pie. I don't know. What do moms do?
I can bake a pie. That's not a problem.
I mean, moms do way more than dads do. I'm very aware that Denise is way better of a parent than I am.
I would argue that both of you are fantastic parents in your own ways. And
I
have met your
appreciate
daughters,
that.
But
the reality
think they're wonderful
is,
people.
Our family works because Denise makes it work. So
that may be true, but that doesn't mean you're a bad parent. I think you're both fantastic.
I didn't say I was a bad parent. Look, I've never put my kid in a burning building and then had firefighters find them.
You mean to say, never mind. Kevin, It has been. We'll let the audience wonder about that one.
Oh yeah,
Kevin, it has been an absolute pleasure. We don't get to talk enough. I'm glad we could we could talk with all of our friends and have a blast with the industry. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And because coming up next, we've got the security news. So stay tuned.